So welcome back to another episode of Gameball, and today we're going to be talking about the hoops. The NBA season's on its way again. It's in full effect, and we have Mikey Domagala on the show. He runs official NBA Buzz, has over 150,000 followers on Instagram, and then over 2 million, I believe, on Facebook. And he's one of the best, and he's talked to a lot of NBA players, so we're very appreciative of having him on the show. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, Matson? I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah,
I woke up early today. I'm ready to talk some hoops. Let's do it.
Hey man, for sure. I got my quick shower and I woke up. I'm ready for sure for this. But before we get into it, I want to talk about, the official NBA buzz and all that stuff. Like, how'd you get it started? And how have you able to grow it to such like a big audience?
Yep. So, it took a lot of hard work. Like you said, 2.5 million followers on Facebook, just hit 162,000 on Instagram. Also on Twitter, I got a couple thousand, which I'm getting that going. But yeah, how I started in 2012 when I was 12. I'm 21 now.
Okay.
So it's been, 8 to 9 years of just hard work, everyday posting, unique content. And, I've always been a basketball fan. So I just started with an idea that I wanted to get my opinion out there. And I turned it into more of a professional page over the years where I'm breaking news and, still having debate topics and, interviewing players on my show, Inside Buzz, which is on YouTube.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, bringing that show up and stuff, like what's like the most memorable thing that's happened for you, whether it was for just like a post or during one of your interviews? Like what's like what was like one of the things that made you say like, wow, I can't believe like I'm actually like this actually happened. Like I could have never thought of that.
Yeah, I got a couple for each. For the page, it's more like when I see NBA followers, like NBA players follow the
Mm-hmm.
page, it's awesome. Like I had Giannis Antetokounmpo follow, then he unfollowed, unfortunately. I know I was annoyed. But then seeing like high level players comment and like LeBron has liked a post, Damian Lillard's commented, Reggie Miller comments, Ray Allen
Yeah.
comments, so stuff like that on that end. Then for my interviews, whenever I get NBA people on who tell me great stories that aren't heard before, like I had Hall of Famer Nancy Lieberman on
Mm-hmm.
one of my episodes of Inside Buzz, and she told me stories about Kobe and how she was supposed to be on the helicopter the next day with Kobe, and I don't know what would have happened if she went on if the helicopter still would have went down, but she would have been on that helicopter, and then she talked to me about her relationship with Kobe. So, and that's just one example. So many other examples of interviewing NBA players who just, appreciate coming on my platform and giving me great stories.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I saw that when Kevin Durant he commented on something about Dirk Nowitzki, and then that got on like ESPN. That must have been just crazy to see. Like one of your posts made it too. So a lot of memorable things right
Yep,
there.
yep. Yeah, I had that one the other day actually with KD. That was last week actually. It got on ESPN and FS1's First Things First. It
Yeah,
was pretty cool.
yeah, that's crazy to see. I mean, hey, I'm not I can kind of rock with that post too. I think Dirk's run was a little bit more impressive than KD's, but
Yep, yep.
it is what it is. And one more thing before we get into talking about basketball in the playoffs, obviously we've been in quarantine. How's your quarantine been going? Like, what you been doing to keep busy?
I got NBA Buzz to keep me busy, which is
Yeah.
good, doing interviews and stuff like that. But content-wise, I got before the bubble happened. I got to admit, it was a little tough just digging into the archives and
Yeah.
bringing out old ideas and old throwback posts, kind of like every day from like March 15th until now. And it's I'm still digging up the old posts until the season starts. So
Yeah.
NBA Buzz has been keeping me busy, and
Mhm.
uh, it's good that the quarantine, this stuff is going on into the summer, because if it was the opposite during the winter, we'd all be inside. So at least I'm outside going to the beach here in New York and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I've only got 15 more days and the season's on its way, so it's really awesome. But moving into the NBA, obviously, before we again talk about the playoffs, we got to talk about the bubble, right? So there's gonna be 22 teams. They're all in there, a bunch of players in there, and so I've heard a lot of people like raise concern. Like they're playing the 8 regular season games and then they have all the playoff games. People like Charles Barkley have said like they don't think it's gonna last. So like, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that they're going to be able to play all the games all the way into the finals without like something happening where they have to like evacuate or re-quarantine again for 2 weeks? What do you think is going to end up happening with all that?
Yeah. I'm a little older than you, and I'm starting to, I'm still really young. I'm 21. I'm starting
Mhm.
to realize how the world works, and everything revolves around money. And
Mhm.
that's why the NBA wouldn't cancel their season even, prior to the bubble. That's why they're pushing for the bubble. I think they're going to do whatever they can to keep the bubble going, and I don't see it stopping just because of the revenue loss. That would put them back millions or even,
Yeah.
billions potentially. And it would mess up the calendar of the NBA season, which would also mess up the revenue. So they're going to keep it going. But if a player tests positive, I mean, they're just going to, quarantine themselves
Mhm.
and continue just testing and testing. But
Yeah.
listen, if a top player goes down, it's going to be interesting because say LeBron goes down on the Lakers, AD
Mhm.
is not going to be able to carry the
Oh,
Lakers to the
no. I
finals
mean,
win it.
that's why you can do with the Pelicans. He's not built
Yep,
like that to lead a
yep.
team.
Exactly. So, if a top dog gets COVID and they have to quarantine during a crucial time in the playoffs or finals, listen, that's going to affect a lot of things too. But
Yeah.
the NBA is going to keep it going. Believe
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And like you said, it's gonna mess up TV deals. It can mess up salary caps and all that stuff. So they need to have it going. And as long as nobody pulls like a Rashawn Holmes and gets Postmates outside the bubble, I think everything's gonna be okay. Um, but do you think like the players are going to be able to like handle living there for let's say that like you said the Lakers and the Bucks, like they're going to be the teams that are going to go far in the playoffs. They have to be there for months. Do you think that they're going to be able to handle living there for 2-3 months and eating like I don't think the food's that bad looking, but like the portions for how big the player is and just not being able to see your family, do you think that they're going to be able to handle it when they actually have to go those 2 months instead of just looking forward and like it's only 2 months?
I mean, it's not for them. It won't be 2 months if they make the finals. For the finals, it's like 3.5 months,
Mm-hmm.
which is even crazier.
Yeah.
I think the main part is these young guys not not out and about with their friends and all that stuff. I think
Mhm.
the veterans like LeBron could deal with it. I mean, his
Yeah.
family probably FaceTimes them every day and stays in contact.
Yeah.
But LeBron is so hungry that he has that goal to win, and I'm sure Giannis too. That they're just going with it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, do you think that the bubble is gonna be broken though? Like Stephen A. So like, there's gonna be some people sneaking in there for certain reasons. Like, do you think that's actually gonna be something that's gonna happen? And like, how can the NBA kind of like prevent that?
To prevent, I don't know. The player will be punished, but I could see it happening. If you look at other crazy things that have happened over the years, first thing that comes into my mind is when the Clippers locked up Blake Griffin.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yep. So another team can't sign him. Listen, that's a crazy thing that happens, and I could see even crazier stuff happening in the bubble, whether it's sneaking in a girl or friends
Yeah.
going out and crossing the line and or doing something.
Yeah, that snitch line's gonna be popping off. I know it is. You got to think, how that little snitch hotline it's gonna be
Yep.
buzzing. So now looking actually into the important stuff right now, the playoffs, the regular season. So there's 8 games left of the regular season, and what I want to start off with is the award race. So obviously the
Mhm.
MVP, right? People aren't gonna like LeBron or Giannis. They don't really care about winning the MVP necessarily. They're more focused on leading their team to being the best it can be. But with that being said, the MVP race is very hot between LeBron and Giannis. So who do you think has the upper hand? Like I personally believe that I'm the biggest LeBron fan. Like I love LeBron. I've been rocking with him since he's into the league. Like he's who I looked up to. But
Mhm.
looking at everything, I feel like Giannis should personally he should win it. I think that he's leading the Bucks. He has a better record. Obviously, he played more games, but he has 4 more wins than what the Lakers currently have. He's averaging 30 points, 14 boards, 6 assists. And he's like that heart and soul of the team. If you take Giannis off of the Bucks, I don't think they're going to be a top 5 team in the East. If you take LeBron off of the Lakers, although I don't think AD can necessarily lead them to the finals, he still did really well with the Pelicans. He can be a leader. So that's why I think Giannis should personally win it. But I was wondering what you were thinking about that whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, you basically took the words out of my mouth because I agree with Giannis. I
Mm-hmm.
agree with the Giannis pick. That's definitely has it over LeBron. I mean, listen, it's close. LeBron is freaking 35 years old, leading the league in assists, also
Mm-hmm.
putting up great numbers. Like you said, Giannis leads in almost all categories. I think he plays. I saw you looking at stats. I don't know if you have it in front of you. I think he plays under 30 minutes a game this year.
Giannis?
Um, yes.
No, he
No?
plays 35. but that's
35.
that's still like a lot less than an
Yeah,
average
yeah,
star
yeah.
would
But
play.
yeah, that's what I mean. He's playing, lower-ish minutes
Hmm.
and, more wins. And also something in this debate, people want to get in their feelings over LeBron because this, in my opinion, is his last like great, amazing season before he
Hmm.
takes a slight decline. I think he'll still be an amazing player. But people, they want LeBron to get one last MVP at 35. It's just not going to happen with Giannis, playing this good, putting up those numbers. It's insane.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, like, I want LeBron to get the credit he deserves, but
Uh-huh.
it's just gonna be, this whole season in itself is just like, I don't even know. Like, I think this is LeBron's last great year with him, and if he goes on to win the championship, who knows? People are gonna put an asterisk next to it. I don't really know, but I do want LeBron to get the recognition he deserves. But he's had, great years, and it's almost like the Kobe thing. Like Kobe he had many great seasons, and you could say he got robbed of winning the MVP, a couple of things, but it's not going to tarnish his legacy. He's not going to tarnish
Yeah.
LeBron's legacy. So that's what people have to recognize.
And I mean, like, listen, I think if LeBron doesn't win the MVP and he wins the championship this year, he'll be more than satisfied.
Yeah, for sure. And then Lucas is a name to watch. Though Luka Doncic. I don't think he's going to win the MVP, but he's doing really well as a sophomore. For the second
Yeah,
season in the
yeah.
league. So next year, the Mavericks could be better than a 7 seed, which still blows my mind
Oh,
that
for
they're
sure, for sure.
only
Yeah,
a 7 seed.
even this year, what the Mavs are doing is incredible.
I
In
know.
Luka's second season, like you were saying.
Yeah, for sure. And your boy Kristaps, aren't you a Knicks fan?
Yep,
Yeah.
I
So.
wou't call him my boy anymore, but yeah,
I
yep.
mean, I like Kristaps. I think that he's not getting enough love by like anybody. I think he's better than what people say. But
I like, I loved Kristaps when he was here with the Knicks.
mhm.
I think he could be even better. He kind of
Yeah.
shoots himself in the foot sometimes, taking so many 3-pointers.
Hmm.
He's so tall and kind of so skilled that his mid-range game is really effective. If he cuts down his, 3-pointers attempt a game, I think he could be even better because sometimes he gets a little inefficient and he kind of misses a lot of shots in a row.
Yeah, for sure. But he'll be able to figure it out with Dallas. I think Dallas has a great team built
Yep.
around him to help him succeed right there. But moving on to another award race, I don't think it's necessarily a race. It's Rookie of the Year. I think that Ja has it locked up. He's just played more games. He's put up better numbers. But I want to kind of start a new debate with this. For
Hmm.
the next 10 years, if you had to pick either Zion or Ja, who would you have?
See, that's a good question rather than asking who's Rookie of the Year because Rookie of the Year is Ja. You
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
win
for
Rookie of
sure.
the Year with 19 games played.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
But over the next 10 years, oh man, put me in the spot that it's so tough.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna give the generic answer and say you can't go wrong with either because it depends on what you need.
Yeah, I guess.
You
I
know,
I guess you
you
could say that.
you could build around both. You know,
Uh-huh.
depend
Uh,
if you got a straight scorer on your team, you know, he could go with Zion
yeah.
a lot better than with Ja because Ja. I mean, he could go with Ja too. I don't even know the point I'm trying to make here, but basically both players are going to be terrific players in this league.
Mhm.
And who gets the upper hand? Listen, people don't like this opinion. I'll pick Ja. I'll
I
pick
would
Ja over Zion.
I would go Ja as well. I think Ja is just I think he's more talented in the sense of like so I went to March Madness. I saw Zion play a couple games. Obviously I watched him on TV. I see what he can do. But what I picked up and he's from this area. Like I live in Greenville, South Carolina. He went to Spartanburg, so he was like 30 minutes away. So I've
Cool,
I've
cool.
seen him, I've seen all that stuff. But the thing with Zion is he's just more of an athletic freak than he is skilled in a way, in the sense of he's a big body. And yes, you have players like Shaq who dominate because he was just so big. But Zion's not. He's only it's like what 6'7", I believe. He's not like a center. He
Uh huh.
can't play down low like that. And he's winning because he's more physical. But players are gonna be able to figure him out. It's almost like I know it's a completely different sport, but it's like Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Lamar
Uh huh.
is great because he's mobile, but he's not the best passer. So once you make him one-dimensional, take away the run, he's not going to be great. If you figure out a way to stop Zion, which I'm sure they're going to be able to in 10 years,
Hmm.
he's not going to be as effective. He's
Yep.
not that great at stretching the floor with threes. He's made a couple here and there. But if he can work on his shooting, then yes, he can be great. But it's just hard to see because he's just very one-dimensional in terms of he can score inside because he's big and he can pick up a couple blocks. Where Ja
Yep,
can
I
just
agree. And then if you look on the other side with Ja, Ja is so multifaceted, doing
mhm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
You saw him as a rookie trying to dunk on people, hit threes.
Like Kevin Love,
He
yeah.
he locks up. He locks up on defense. He's plays high energy defense and
Mm-hmm.
offense. So both players are going to be amazing. And with
Yeah.
oh, I just wish the Knicks. Like I like R.J. Barrett here in New York. I love him.
Yeah.
He's still so young. I just wish we got. I
I
wish we
mean,
got Ja. I wish we
yeah.
got Ja
Or Zion.
or Zion. But listen, the Knicks had to get really lucky to get Zion. Ja
Yeah.
was right there for the
I ju-
taking.
yeah.
It just didn't fall.
I mean, you guys might get LaMelo Ball this year, so I don't know how you feel about him, but he could be good, I guess. He can stretch the floor. He can help you guys out.
Yeah. Listen, I want LaMelo. I think he's got the personality for New York. He's kind of an a-hole, which will
Yeah.
fit right in over here with these New Yorkers. And
Uh-huh.
listen, he's like 6'9" and he could shoot. So hey, we might as well take a stab at him if he goes number one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, might as well. I think the Knicks just need somebody who's like kind of who's a star already. Like, LaMelo who played overseas, but his dad talks about he got him all hyped up. Everybody
Exactly.
knows who LaMelo Ball is. So I think that it'd be a perfect fit for New York. And so the last little award race I got going on right here is the most improved player. So I don't know, I feel like we're gonna agree on this one again, but I would give it a Bam Adebayo. I am a Heat fan, so again, might be a little biased in that sense, but he doubled his total. He went from having 9 points to 16 points, 7 boards to 10.5, and 2 assists to 5 assists with a block and a steal every game. He became an all-star this year from
Yep.
being like, a bench presence almost in a way to becoming an all-star. It's a huge step in itself. So I would give it a Bam. I think he's the reason why the Heat are such a dark horse in the or in the playoffs as well. So,
I would go with Bam too, but also, you know, another improved player who I like. Chris Middleton's in the race a little bit, and people don't like to give him his credit. Like, yeah, he was. I'm just bringing up another option. Yeah,
yeah,
he
yeah.
was, a good scorer.
Mm-hmm.
But this season, if you look at his percentages, he's very close to the 50-90-40 club.
Mm-hmm.
He's increased his points per game and kind of his all-around presence on the floor. But it's going to go to Bam. It's
Yeah.
going to go to Bam for all the reasons you said, helping the Heat and kind of just really taking like a huge leap this season from what he was the past couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Chris Middleton, though, bringing him up, like, yeah, I think he's a great player. I think that he is, a star of a team, but nobody likes to acknowledge that
Uh-huh.
because, sometimes, like, I think he's I think he's a top 18, top 15 player in the league. But then you got articles coming out saying he's top 10, and it kind of like devalues him because people are like, oh, that's not true. Like, he's so overrated. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he is a little, like, he's not top 10. But
Uh-huh.
I think he's a lot better than what people say. So I can get with that for sure. And now looking into the playoff push in the Western Conference, right? The 8th seed is just the only seed that's up for grabs really when you look at the West or the East, and it is a tight race. You got Memphis in there with 8. They have a 3.5 game lead over Portland and the Pelicans and the Kings, and then a 4 game lead over the Spurs. And then you could say the Suns could sneak in there, but they're 6 games back, so it's kind of like tough to say. So and they have a hard schedule, so I'm not giving it the Suns. But, who do you think is going to be able to sneak into that 8th seed? Or do you think Memphis could keep it?
I think Memphis is going to hold it down.
Right.
Yes, the NBA, I wouldn't say gave because it was, I guess you could say gave because they did in the beginning of the year, gave the Pelicans the easiest remaining
Oh,
schedule.
yeah, it's so
But
easy.
listen, man, it's going to be a tough race. Remember that this is what people don't understand. People are so gung-ho about the Pelicans getting in. There's only 8 games left.
Mm-hmm.
Every
Mm-hmm.
single game counts. If Memphis wins like 3 or 4 games, it's almost like it's basically impossible for the Pelicans to get
Yeah.
in. They need to really like win out, which
Yeah.
will be tough. So I
Mhm.
could see Ja just turning it up. Memphis got a deep young team, and I could
Memphis
see
has,
them just holding on.
yeah, I mean, Memphis has a good team. Like, people forget, like, also they have, like, yes, they have a job, but Dylan Brooks is stepping up. They got Jonas Valanciunas,
Yep.
Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson, who I think is one of the best young power forwards in the game. They
He's
got
going
a
to be
lot
really
of
good.
players there. I
Yeah.
mean, I think they give the Pelicans, yes, I was looking at it. They have, like, that easiest – they play, like, the Wizards twice, and the Wizards don't have, like, the 3 best players on their team. Like, they just have such an easy schedule. I was looking at the Spurs because of their, veteran leadership, but they don't have LaMarcus Aldridge. But the team that I want to really focus on right now is the Portland Trail Blazers. And yes, I was looking at their schedule. It is a little bit tougher. They still have to play playoff teams right now, playoff caliber teams. but you can't count out Dame Dollar and CJ McCollum. Hassan Whiteside's doing well. So, like, do you think that Portland has a realistic chance to be able to take that 8 seed away from Memphis and overcome the Pelicans as well?
To be honest, Damian Lillard needs to go into Dame Dollar mode and just go berserk, because whenever he goes off, the Blazers usually win. And, it's tough because the Blazers this year were very inconsistent. Earlier in the year, they kind of fell down, which kind of hurt them. If they didn't kind of play too inconsistent, they'd be perfectly fine right now in the playoff race, which obviously they're still in the race. But how many games out are they?
They are 3.5 games out of the 8 seed.
Again, that's tough with only 8 games. If there's about 15 to 20 games, they could definitely do it. But I still see Memphis holding on.
Yeah, I think the only reason why I give it to Memphis really is, I think that they have a good dynamic with Ja and the big men down there. But the reason why, though, is like you said, 3.5 games, that's hard to overcome. Especially when Memphis, they have a head-to-head against against the Pelicans, for example, right? If the Pelicans want to overtake that, if they win that game, that's a big game for the Pelicans. But if Memphis wins that, New Orleans is virtually out in a way if you think about it, because then they would lose a head-to-head. They would give Memphis a win, and they would lose the game. It's just very hard for them. So I would give it to Memphis, but who knows? I think the only team personally that can overtake Memphis is Portland, just because of Damian Lillard.
Yep.
And so now looking into the playoffs right now with like the Eastern Conference. So I was talking about it. I want to look into the Eastern Conference Finals and who's going to be there, some matchups, and after, calculating who I think is going to win, 1 versus 8 seed, so on and so forth, I ended up with the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Boston Celtics. And so I think that's what's going to end up happening, because I think if the Miami Heat, they could make a run, but they're going to be a 4 or 5 seed and have to play Milwaukee second round.
It all depends on the matchups.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And I just think that's going to – I think the Heat are capable of making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But to play Milwaukee, it's going to be very tough for them, and I don't think they're going to be able to. I think Giannis is just too tough to handle. So then I look at that matchup against the Celtics, and I think that you have the Kemba Walker there, who's extremely underrated. He still is. Like, he does not get the recognition he deserves. They have some young wing talent with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, but I think that Eric Bledsoe, underrated defender, one of the best defending guards. I think he can lock up Kemba Walker. Middleton is one of the best 3-and-D players. He can cover out those young wings. And then Giannis, Boston does not have a guy who can stop Giannis, in my opinion. So I think the Bucks win against the Celtics. And I don't know who you have possibly going to the Eastern Conference Finals, but that's what I think is going to end up happening.
Based on those matchups, it sounds pretty good. And, with Miami, I don't think this is their year yet. I still think they're a little young, a little too inexperienced. And I think Boston, if they match up with Boston or Milwaukee, which will probably be Milwaukee, I agree. Milwaukee will win. Yeah, listen, I got Milwaukee coming out of the East, the Lakers coming out of the West, Bucks, Lakers, and my pick, it's tough, man. I got to go with the Lakers just because of the experience factor with LeBron and AD. You get those two in playoff mode. They're gonna be firing on all cylinders. Hopefully, J.R. Smith and other three-point shooters on that team will do their part off the bench. And, LeBron's going to go crazy this playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. I think, like you're saying, though, the Heat, I feel like they are a little bit too young. But if they can get one of those free agent signings that they were talking about with Giannis or maybe Victor Oladipo if he becomes healthy, they could be crazy.
Staying on that, I think Oladipo is the better move than Giannis. They don't need Giannis. If they get Giannis, Bam Adebayo's development's going to slow a little bit. He's not going to get the looks and the numbers that he wants. And the rest of the guys, Jimmy Butler with Giannis there is going to get pissed off because he's not the top dog. Harrow's development and Duncan Robinson, they're not going to get as many touches. I think Victor Oladipo is the perfect guy to fit on that team because that's a team of balance. That's not a team of Giannis. I mean, the Bucks are balanced, but put Giannis on the Heat, he's going to take away from the rest of them. I think VO is who they should sign.
I mean, but when you say that, they're like, yes, I understand that, and I agree. Like, looking at the Heat and I watch a lot of the games and seeing how they function as a team together. They get that ball moving, they have a good connection, and it's just like the grit and grind. It's almost like Memphis when they had Marcus Gasol and Zebo, but a little bit better, in terms of like shooting, athleticism. but they just grind out the games and they just put it on the work. There's a story where Jimmy Butler was literally dribbling the ball during quarantine. So like that's the type of people they need around them. But then you got to think though, Giannis is just right now. I still think LeBron is the greatest player in the game personally, but Giannis in 2 years definitely will be the best player in the game. And it's hard to say how you going to turn down the greatest player in the game right now. That's just very hard to do. Yeah, so I understand that, and it can implode on them. Jimmy Butler could grow very unhappy, but I just think it's very hard if they had the opportunity to turn him down. And I don't think it would necessarily hurt the growth of Bam Adebayo. I think that it might in a way, but I think that Bam's more than capable of working on his own. So it's interesting. But if Oladipo can come back healthy, though, he could be. I think he's one of the best players in the game. But moving on to the Western Conference Finals, you said you had the Lakers taking it out. You had the Lakers going. I think we all have the Lakers versus Clippers as a matchup. I think that's what's going to be happening. And I am taking the Lakers, like you said, because LeBron, but when he flips that switch, he's next level. And especially with him being healthy now during the quarantine, he's going to be even better. Resting. I think this rest out of all teams, I think is helping the Lakers the most because LeBron gets to recover. But the matchup that I was after I was looking at all the matchups, breaking down everything, I think it's going to come down to these two things. Do you think that the Clippers are going to be able to stop the Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard down low, or do you think the Lakers are going to be able to stop the wings of Paul George and Kawhi? Who do you think is going to be able to gain that upper hand? Because that's the matchup. Those are the two weaknesses for each team. So who do you think is going to be able to take that over and be able to find a way to stop that side of it?
Well, first thing I will say, if those two teams match up in the West, that's going to be one of the greatest Western Conference Finals ever. LeBron on Kawhi, and then, AD in the mix, and then Paul George with the Clippers. Yeah, listen, the Clippers are definitely going to have a hard time with Dwight and AD because who do the Clippers have that's that big? I had this discussion with my friends the other day. They have Zubac, but I mean, listen, then they have Montrezl Harrell, and Harrell is a dog down there, but he's only about 6'8".
Yeah.
So AD and Dwight are going to be able to kind of overpower him and out height him in that aspect. But then again, like you said, who's going to stop Paul George on the Lakers? But Paul George hasn't really been Paul George this season. I don't know what it is. If he's not fully getting used to playing next to Kawhi, if there's too much firepower on that team and he's not getting the proper looks that he wants. But, if he turns it up, it'll be a matchup for the ages.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest X factors, obviously, we have LeBron, AD, Paul George, Kawhi. Those are the big names. Everybody knows about them. But I think the biggest X factor out of all the teams is Marcus Morris. People forget about that. Marcus Morris, when he was on the Knicks, he was averaging nearly 20 points. And so maybe that's just too many mouths to feed with the Clippers. But for the Lakers, if you think about it, who's going to – Avery Bradley, one of the best defenders, is gone right now because he, obviously I respect it. He doesn't want to get his family, sick and all that. But who's going to be able to stop those players? There's a report that Markieff Morris isn't even at the Lakers – isn't even in Disney World right now, isn't even in Orlando. So I just don't know who's going to be able to stop those guys. It's just very hard to say.
Yeah, I think that's the only problem with the Lakers. People think the Lakers are so deep, but the bench is kind of a lot of I do this, and then this player does that, and that guy does that. They're not really all-around, well-rounded bench players. They're kind of just, do a job. JR is just going to shoot. Yeah, he could defend a little bit, but then look at Quinn Cook. I mean, he could be a lot better back there, and he's going to have to be better because he's going to take the place of Rondo. So players like that need to step up, or else, like you said, the Clippers – they got a ton of mouths to feed, but that's fine because when you bring the bench in, they can just obliterate the Lakers.
Yeah.
Their bench.
Yeah. I mean, hey, maybe Alex Caruso, this is his time to finally break out and be.
I forgot about the Caruso.
Come on. And then it's very tough to see, but the Lakers, they really need to be their bench is just a bunch of 3-point shooters if you really think about it. And if they're firing and they can make their shots, then it's over. You can't stop them. But if they're missing.
If they can't make their shots, that's the problem. And going back on Caruso, as much as everybody and I like Caruso, look at a Caruso and a Lou Williams. Lou Williams can get you buckets with his eyes closed whenever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Caruso, yes, he could score. Yes, he could do a lot of things. The Lakers just don't have that, straight up go-to scorer off the
Yeah.
bench. That's why LeBron and AD are gonna have to log a lot of minutes.
Yeah. I mean, and Kyle Kuzma is just not panning out. Like they're like, oh, we're not trading Kuzma. Took him off. Like they
Mhm.
wanted him more than Brandon Ingram, more than Lonzo Ball, but he's just Kyle Kuzma's not the guy. He's just I don't know. He's just not doing well. He's
Yeah, I don't think he's developing right with LeBron and AD there. I think he
mm,
wants more touches.
yeah. And so I do believe though, like the Lakers versus the Bucks is, like we said, the finals matchup. I think that that's the matchup right there. I think the Lakers are gonna have a lot easier time beating the Bucks than they would against the Clippers because I think that, like I said, in order to get to the finals, they have to be firing all cylinders, making all those threes and working on their their wings. So if that's the case, I think the Bucks just aren't gonna be able to stop them. But do you think the Lakers are going to be able to stop Giannis? Like, how hard do you think that's going to take? Like, how long do you think it's going to take them to be able to find a way to finally stop him, in that 7-game series?
It would be tough because the Lakers too. I think for them to stop Giannis, they need to start Dwight Howard alongside AD, and every time Giannis is in there, they need to form this paint brick wall with AD and Dwight to stop him and force him to the mid-range or outside.
Mm-hmm.
We saw teams do that to him. I think one game, I think it was the Christmas Day matchup. I believe Milwaukee played the Celtics,
Mm-hmm.
and the Celtics did a terrific job on Giannis, forcing him outside of the paint. And yeah, he put up, like 26 points, but his shooting percentages and stuff like that weren't that hot because they were making him shoot outside. So that's what the Lakers need to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. It's just it's gonna be interesting, But I do think that like I said though, I think the Lakers are gonna be able to figure that out. I think they will. I mean, it's just LeBron's the guy. It's just he's gonna be able to figure things out and he'll be able to accomplish things. But I think like we said, we're kind of similar with who's gonna win the finals and why. But this is what I really want to get into: the teams to watch in a way. The teams that yes, they have a tough road to make it to the finals, and they need everything clicking to go the right way. But could it be possible? So in the Western Conference, I'm sure you might have your own opinion. I think a lot of people are hyping up the Thunder as a team to be able to make it far. But the team that I really want to keep an eye on and looking at the standings is the Houston Rockets. That's the team to watch. So Houston's currently the 6th seed, and they would play Denver. I think that Houston's going to be able to overtake Oklahoma City and become the 5 seed. Then they would play the Jazz. They would beat the Jazz first. I think that's just going to end up happening. They would play the Lakers. Again, I want LeBron to win it. I think LeBron is. But do you think that it's possible for Houston to possibly overtake the Lakers and win that game? I mean, when they made that trade where they got rid of Clint Capella and they put Robert Covington, the very first team they played were the Los Angeles Lakers, and they won. They beat the Lakers by like 10 points. And obviously it's one game, but hey, they made it work. So why can't they do it for 4 games? So what do you think could happen? Like, who's your dark horse team? Do you think Houston could actually make a run?
Dark horse. I like Houston and Denver, but with Houston, James Harden is going to shoot himself in the foot again. It's like he doesn't want to change his game enough to balance it out with his teammates and play team basketball. He's just going to take a ton of step back threes. I'm not a fan of that.
Mm-hmm.
The matchup with the Lakers, who's going to stop AD? I know you said that one game in the regular season, but when the playoffs come, I mean, you get Robert Covington or PJ Tucker on AD. It's just not gonna go well.
Yeah.
And going back to Denver, listen, Jokic and that team. Jokic is skinny now. He'll be, a lot quicker, a lot more versatile than he already is. I could see Denver being my dark horse. Houston, I don't have enough faith in Houston with Westbrook and Harden just being a little inconsistent with shooting the ball. You can't win games when the 2 of your top players, who are these MVP level guys, shoot 40% from the field combined. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and they're both apparently testing positive for Corona. I don't even know what's happening with James Harden because I swear he's like shooting and practicing, but tested positive like 2 days ago.
No, that was kind of a rumor I saw by a page with only a couple thousand followers on Twitter. And it kind of got that snowball rolling with Harden. Mm-hmm. But hey, he just arrived to the bubble yesterday, and they don't let you go if you're, positive and not quarantined a certain time. So maybe Harden was positive, 2 weeks ago, and now he's fine. But seems like he'll be there and be ready with Westbrook.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, good for them then, But with the Nuggets, so you brought that up, right? With Nikola, that's your dark horse team. He's gonna be skinnier, he's gonna be more agile. So they would obviously they play the Thunder. They would beat the Thunder. But again, the matchup we're talking about is them against the Clippers. That's what would end up happening.
That would
And
be dope. That
that'd
would be
be
awesome.
yeah, that'd be a crazy game. It's a crazy series. And I don't think again the Clippers don't have a big man to stop Nikola. But do you really think like Jamal Murray and who they have down there is going to be able to like go up against who's going to be able to stop Kawhi and Paul George? Like who do they even have to be able to stop them? Like Paul Millsap. Like I don't know. How do you think they're going to be able to overtake like the Clippers and win that game?
That's where I think, the Nuggets aren't there yet to be title contenders this year.
Mm-hmm.
They still need to develop guys like Michael Porter Jr. will be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not there yet. He's still so young. He's coming off his injuries. And, yeah, like you said, who's going to guard Kawhi? That's why I would have the Clippers, beating the Nuggets. I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, the Clippers are just – I don't know. I just, like, I don't want the Clippers to win, but, like, I feel like everyone's just counting them out because, their players literally, like, quiet. Like, nobody talks about – like, Kawhi is just Kawhi's Kawhi. Like, they don't have that, that guy, that's kind of like – and Paul George – he's not active with the media and all that either. So it's just like I feel like the media is counting the Clippers out because they don't have one of those guys who's just going to give them a good story, a good headline.
Yeah, hey, that is true.
But I mean, it should be very interesting to see what ends up happening with the Clippers and what goes on there. And then I guess my last kind of question for you is about players in a way. Who do you think is going to develop the most through this whole entire playoff as a team? Like, who do you think is going to be able to grow, and like maybe this year is not their year, but they're going to make it, and next year they're just going to take off and could possibly be like a Miami Heat type of team where they're just going off right now. Who do you think could be that team to watch for next season?
I think like I was saying before, I think Memphis gets in, and I think Memphis will be that team to check off all those marks because they're so young, and when you're so young like this and having so much success, your first playoff series. Listen, it doesn't even matter if you're going to win. If Ja takes, Ja and Memphis match up with the Lakers, right, and they steal a game from the Lakers, you know how important that one win against the Lakers is for these young guys developing and gives them their confidence to piggyback off that win into next postseason. So I think, Ja and all those young guys developing this playoffs will be, it'll kind of put them light years ahead for next season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, especially I think Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson, I think they need the most development. I feel like they're good, but they can unlock another level. And if they can do that, they're going to be a dangerous team. And so wait, I have one last question right here. I was thinking about it, and it was in terms of, players next season, where they could possibly end up. And, I like to think that if players if they decide to set out the bubble, they sat out for, I think there's one of these three reasons. Obviously, it's a family issue. Like Avery Bradley didn't want to get his family's sake. I understand that. I think that the second thing was maybe they just didn't think the team was good enough to like do anything. So why go? Or the third thing is injuries. I put that in parentheses, but they say injuries, but it's more so I don't want to be on this team anymore. I'm sitting out. Why risk getting hurt and losing out on a team actually wanting me? So that brings me to the two players, right? Victor Oladipo said he wants to come back. The Pacers were like, oh, he's coming back. Like, trust me, but I don't know. And then there's also Bradley Beal, who's just like, no, I'm not going. So with those two guys being the main stars of it, what do you think is going to be happening to Bradley Beal and Victor Oladipo, not when they become free agents, but within this next offseason? Do you think that they'll still be on the current teams, or do you think they'll end up leaving?
I think Oladipo's out because I think Oladipo sees that, the Pacers are a good team. Listen, they got nice depth with Brogdon and Sabonis and then Oladipo when he's healthy. But listen, we both know this. The Pacers aren't going to win a championship if it continues like that. Oladipo knows it too. So Oladipo's going to be out. That's why I think he's going to go to Miami. With Beal always seems very committed to Washington. Seems like he wants to be there. He always says it. I don't know how much of truth that is. But, I think he's just patiently waiting for John Wall to get back. Because then, like right now, they're, right outside of the 8th seed. If John Wall was playing, they'd be fine. I think they'd be into the playoffs. They'd overtake the Magic. So I think he's just waiting for John Wall, and hopefully, I want them to sign DeMarcus Cousins, and maybe that'll be a nice trio.
It could. It could. I mean, hey, you got that Kentucky duo as well, with John Cousins. But do you think John Wall is going to be able to really achieve what he used to be, like that top of the line point guard?
Man, everybody's different coming off an injury, and his injury putting him out almost 2 years. Oh, I don't know. I hope so. I really like John Wall, and
Yeah.
people don't give him his credit just because he hasn't been seen in a while.
Yeah. I hope he does well. I used to always draft him in a 2K, so I don't know. I just thought John Wall was just like it was always him and Damian Lillard kind of like being like compared. And I always thought John Wall with that athletic ability, but that injury again, it could hurt him in terms of just being able to be athletic and have his game going. And then the other thing though is like with the Pacers, like you said, I think like you said, Victor Oladipo, I think he is jumping ship. But how like this is I could be reaching for a headline or reaching for a story, but you saw that thing where Paul George was like one time the best power forward in the league. No, they never said who. Let's just say it was I don't know Anthony Davis or someone. I don't know. Maybe LaMarcus Aldridge when that happened. But he said he wanted to come to Indiana. I don't know who wants to go to the Indiana Pacers, willingly, but he wanted to go there. And they said, we're not signing him. And that's like Paul George is like, bro, I'm never going back there. I want to leave. Do you think that story spooked Victor Oladipo in a way and saying, like, I have a good team, me and Sabonis and Miles Turner, but if a guy wants to come, they're not willing to make that push because of money? Do you think that could, like, that spooked him for wanting to stay there long term?
That's a good point. I never even thought of it. I think yeah, that has to do with it because also you got to think who wants to go to Indiana? It's not even just about the money. It's kind of off the beaten path. These players want to go to a top, a high level,
like market size, yeah.
High market, exactly, place. And Indiana's, they've made strides since their team, over the last 30 years, but they're not there yet.
Yeah.
That's why I think another reason why Oladipo will be out.
I mean, I think it's just weird because he was literally like before this break, he's playing games and he's like, I'm not coming back because my injury's not healed. Why weren't you playing to begin with? Like it's very interesting to see. But it's a lot of information, a lot of stuff going on with the NBA, and I hope the Lakers can pull it out in the finals. But we'll see what happens. And again, I really appreciate you coming on. I'd love to do this again. Maybe further into the playoffs, we can have another discussion. But I appreciate it, and I hope you have a good day, man, for sure.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on, buddy.
Yeah,
if you need anything, just let me know. Anything shared, and as the interview gets, as you start posting it, I'll share it to NBA Buzz and with my audience.
Oh man, I appreciate that for sure, man. Have a good one.
I want to finish with one more comment.
Yeah, go for it.
Devin Booker needs to come to New York. That's who I want to come to New York.
Devin Booker is overrated. I'm saying that he's overrated. I don't think Devin Booker is that good of a player. I think that personally, look, I think he's good, but I think Phoenix has plenty of guys around him. I think Ricky Rubio is not the greatest, but he can move the ball. DeAndre Ayton is still a quality center. Kelly Oubre is doing phenomenal this year. And I think Devin just keeps using it as an excuse. Well, I don't have a star. I don't have a star next to me. But, I understand that. But how are you going to be, I think they're, 13th seed in the West behind the Spurs and the Kings? How are you going to do that and be considered a star? Even when he puts up, big numbers, like 70-point games, they lose. But it's because – I don't think it's because, he has no talent around him. I just don't think he's as good as advertised. So he can go to New York, but
I could see that. But listen, Western Conference is tough. You come to the East, you might sneak in the playoffs with Booker. Booker will be the next, greater than sliced bread over here in New York, and people would fall in love with him. And next to LaMelo and RJ, hey, like that.
Whoa, that's a top 3 team right there in the East.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know about top 3. Maybe maybe top 6. But hey, again, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
man.
brother.
All right.
All righty.
All right. Well, take care, man. Have a good one.
All right. You too.